Just because you might not be taking the SAT essay doesn't mean that you don't need to learn how to do this, okay? Because sooner or later, if you go on to school, you're going to have to write a timed essay in class. Now, you will be doing that in this class, but it's kind of different than you might be doing, say, in a college class. Who's had to do a timed essay in a class besides the one that y'all did for level 1? You have? What did you have to do?
Literature essay on King Alfred.
Oh, okay. I remember somebody writing a King Alfred paper one time. I don't remember who it was. And Linda, of course, you just did it. And was it kind of shocking of how fast the time moved, or what?
Yeah. I was like, oh. I looked at my watch. I was only halfway through. It's pretty much it.
So did you finish?
I got 4 papers.
Yes. 4 is what we're going to aim for. Okay. And that's what I changed yesterday. I've had it as 5 before, but it just doesn't work for the 40-minute time because the SAT, the ACT essay is 40 minutes. The SAT essay, which was a much better exercise, unfortunately, it was canceled several years ago. They stopped doing it. I think it was the year of COVID that they stopped doing it. And it was a really actual good essay, and you got 50 minutes to do that one. I liked the assignment better than this one. I really don't care for this. Before that one, they had an SAT essay that you got 25 minutes to do. And it was so worthless that they finally just did away with it and came up with a whole new assignment. So I'm sad that they kept the ACT essay and they got rid of the SAT one. But that's okay. Sooner or later, you'll have to write something really fast, and you'll have to know how to gather your thoughts. And okay, Jack, so for this kind of essay is really more like impromptu debate. And you have some of those skills. In fact, some of the ideas that I used came out of a book about impromptu debate, writing skills using impromptu debate strategies. So it's a good thing to be able to gather your thoughts quickly when you're given something that you don't know what you're going to be writing on. Now, fortunately, mostly in classes that you take, the things you're going to be asked to write about will be things that you've actually been studying, right, in school. It won't be like this, where they give you some random thing like aliens and ask you to write about it. So you'll at least have a knowledge base. The problem with this is they give you things that they give you a small excerpt and they ask you to decide which perspective is the best. So that's not so bad, but you really have to do thinking on your feet. And I'm not very good at thinking on my feet. I'm the kind of person that needs to think about something for a long time, sometimes years, before I figure it out. So those of you that are good at thinking on your feet, I'm sorry, I think this pollen and everything is just trying to get to me. Those of you who are good at thinking on your feet, who's able to quickly come up with things just on the spur of the moment when you're talking or debating, just like for friends? So. Okay. I'm not. I'm the one that always goes afterwards. They all goes, oh, I should have said blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's just not one of my strong points. But just like anything else, if you practice it, you'll get better at it. Okay? So, mostly schools don't require this. There are only 6 colleges in the United States that actually require the ACT essay as part of your application. And then there are a few more that recommend it. And if you want to go to a school that actually recommends it, what do you think you should do? Yeah, they're not really giving you a choice. They're just kind of like,
no, we don't really I get rid of it. Yep, I mean,
Yeah,
if you want to get in, you could have to do it.
they're sort of looking at, yeah, who will do everything possible. Okay. Let me show you the schools that actually do require it. Schools that require ACT. Let's see. Oh, here they are. Only 5 schools as of 2021 that require ACT writing for the incoming freshman students. And the only school I recognize among those is West Point. Okay. Then there are schools that recommend it, and there's just a few of those, I think 6 maybe. And the only one that I recognized out of that list was Morehouse. I think it was Morehouse. Huh? Morehouse. Somewhere on, it just popped right up yesterday when I was looking for it. So, okay. So chances are really good that you won't go to a school that requires it. But if you check and find out that your school recommends it or that it's optional, they probably don't care. But recommends, yes, definitely take it. Okay. But even if you don't have to take it, I used to be really mad that I had to spend time teaching this because I don't want to be boring. But since we can actually use these skills for other things, it's not a wasted effort. Okay. Let's see, I'm not going to do screen share right now. So let's look in our books. There's mine right there. Let's see. Jack, would you mind handing me the books on my computer? Thank you. Okay. Let's look at writing this ACT essay. And a lot of these things will apply to any kind of timed writing that you have to do. The main thing that it'll do is it'll get you in the mode of, I've taught you to take your time and go back and, be really careful. You can't always do that in writing. Sometimes you just have to get it done. And this is just good practice getting it done. So look on page 74. So when actually look on 73. When you get your ACT, if there's any question at all about whether schools that you're interested in are going to want this, just go ahead and take it. Is that why you took it?
No, I haven't made it.
Okay. Good. Okay. So this is how it's set up. Is this how it looked when you got it, Linda? This is how it did when I put it in the hands of people 3 years ago. Okay. They're going to tell you about an issue, and they're going to give you 3 perspectives, and they want you to decide which perspective you agree with, or you can even come up with your own perspective. Now, you have 40 minutes. In the interest of time, do not come up with your own perspective, okay? There just isn't time for that. So just decide which one you agree with the most or disagree with the least. All right, that's one of the strategies. Now here's an example, and this is how they're all set up. So we're going to use this one as the example. Okay, they give you a little excerpt about an issue, and this one was actually one that I actually liked. Education in the workplace. Many colleges and universities have cut their humanities departments, and high schools have started to shift their attention much more definitively towards STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and away from ELA, English Language Arts. Representatives from both school boards and government organizations suggest that the move towards STEM is necessary in helping students to participate in a meaningful way in the American workplace. Given the urgency of this debate for the future of education and society as a whole, it is worth examining the potential consequences of this shift and how students are educated in the United States. Okay, y'all have probably heard of STEM, and that's all the hard sciences and the mathematics and everything that go along with it, okay? And English Language Arts obviously is writing, reading, literature, all of that. And so they really are, there is this big push to try to push people into STEM degrees, okay? Now, there's 3 possible perspectives that they give, and I can think of a 4th one. And if I didn't know better, I would try to do the 4th one. And I'll tell you what it is in just a minute. But since we only have 40 minutes to write this thing, we just need to go with one of them that they've given us. Okay? So, read and carefully consider these perspectives. Each suggests a particular way of thinking about the shift in American education. Perspective 1. Language arts programs should be emphasized over STEM programs. Education is not merely a means to employment. ELA education helps students live more meaningful lives. In addition, an exclusively STEM-based program cannot help but limit students' creativity and lead them to overemphasize the importance of money and other tangible gains. Okay. Then we have perspective 2. ELA programs should be eradicated entirely, except to establish the basic literacy necessary to engage in the hard sciences, mathematics, and business. Reading and writing are activities that are best saved for the leisure of students who enjoy them. And perspective 3, ELA and STEM programs should always be in equal balance with one another. Both are necessary to providing a student with a well-rounded education. Moreover, equal emphasis will allow the fullest possible exposure to many subjects before students choose their majors and careers. Okay, just as a quick, just make a quick determination which perspective you think is the best. Okay, anybody go for perspective 1? Anybody go for perspective 2? I guess that means you're all for perspective 3? Okay, so there's usually going to be one extreme and another, and then there's usually going to be one that's kind of in the middle. Okay, and I haven't seen all of them. What were the perspectives on the ones that you did?
I honestly don't really remember. But like it was kind of like, do they exist? Do they not exist? And like, is it wise to spend money on trying to figure out if they do exist, kind of things like. So.
And what did you say?
I said that it was not wise to waste money on trying to figure out if aliens exist. Like,
that sounds very reasonable to me.
Finding fit for
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
aliens could help us find cures for cancer. We have the AI technology.
Oh, okay. That's so fascinating, Linda. All right. So then they tell you in the next thing, essay task. Write a unified, coherent essay in which you evaluate multiple perspectives on the issue of how schools should balance STEM and ELA subjects. In your essay, be sure to analyze and evaluate the perspectives given, state and develop your own perspective on the issue, explain the relationship between your perspective and those given, all in 40 minutes. No, it doesn't actually say that on there. Okay, so your perspective may be in full agreement with any of the others, in partial agreement, or wholly different. Whatever the case, support your ideas with logical reasoning and detailed, persuasive examples. Okay, now there is another example in here of an actual prompt with sample essays that I got off the ACT site. And I really like it. It's about increasing the presence of intelligent machines in society. It's a great prompt, but the essays that were written that got the high grades don't even look like they were written by a student. It looks like a professor wrote them and took as long as they wanted to write them. So I don't think they're realistic, and that's why I have come up. You can read through that if you want to, and we'll look at a couple of the award-winning essays if we have time. But they're not realistic, okay? And so we need to do something that is realistic for the amount of time that you've been given, okay? You can't afford to be real fancy, and you can't afford to think a lot. If you do, you'll be out of time, all right? So
I was too busy being intellectual to actually answer the question.
That's right. Okay, so let's look on page 74 at the strategy for doing this, okay? So this is not, I don't think this came off of their website. Maybe it did. I don't remember because I put some of my own stuff in here. Okay, first of all, Roman numeral 1. The first thing you want to do is to read the prompt and analyze the perspectives. And they'll give you, out of 40 minutes, you can take 3 to 4 minutes to do this. Now, this is probably the most crucial part of the whole exercise, because if you don't carefully read it, if you're so anxious or just unfocused or something that you don't carefully read it, you could end up not really writing about the right thing. And this actually happened to my daughter in an English class, college English class, when they had computers in their college English class, and they would have essay tests to do, and they'd be given a prompt, and it usually had something to do with some of the things they'd been reading. And she got like halfway through and she realized that she had misread the question that she was supposed to be writing on, at which point she nearly had a heart attack and dissolved into a quivering blob of jelly. But she started over again, just flying as fast as she could, and came home. Oh, I failed the test. I wrote the wrong thing. I was like, did you finish? Yes, you failed. Well, she didn't. Thankfully, she had decent enough skills that even though she started off on the wrong foot, she was able to recover and, but this is the crucial part. Make sure that you know what they're asking you to do before you start doing it. Okay. All right. So, first, choose your perspectives. Usually they'll be split 1 for, 1 for against, 1 in the middle, or something like that. So take like 15 seconds to decide which perspective you come down on. Okay. The good news is that each perspective includes both a general assertion as well as an opinion that places the topic in a broader context. So you don't have to come up with all this stuff. Okay. You can also get information out of the prompt itself that you can use. As it says here, while it is possible to come up with a 4th point of view on the topic, the added time you'll have to spend comparing your point of view to 3 other perspectives will most likely result in weaker arguments for all 3. And besides that, you may not even finish. Okay? Instead, choose the perspective you think you can support the best. Now, after a long time of thinking about this prompt that I had just done with you, I thought of what my own real perspective is. And that is that schools should not only keep both STEM and ELA, they should also add a track that allows students to explore the possibilities of non-college job opportunities. That would be my own personal one. Yeah, don't get rid of those and add this too. But again, there's just not time for that, okay? B, quickly brainstorm evidence and explanations to support each perspective. All right. Now, the way to do this is to try to have at least one good example that supports your perspective. And I actually sat in class yesterday and wrote an essay of this on the computer because my handwriting would not be good on that board. And also, there just wasn't time by the time we got down to this part. Okay. Search for evidence, and you can remember the categories in the compact analysis chart. Just run through them in your head. Does anybody remember the different categories that we have on that chart? Any of them?
Past, present, future.
Yeah.
Pros, cons.
Any others?
Effects.
Cause and effect? Yeah. What'd you say?
Like the national.
Yeah. Global, national,
Local.
state, local, family, church. Yeah. Okay. So you can quickly run through that in your mind. And then, of course, the examples and illustrations part of that is really helpful too, because a good illustration of what you make a statement and then you illustrate it with like a couple of sentences, that's very effective. Okay. Sources for evidence. And you're just jotting down stuff at this point, and this is what I would have you do for the keyword outline, and I'll show you an example in a minute. So the opening paragraph of the prompt, if you haven't already, read through the paragraph at the beginning of the essay prompt. You can appropriate some or all of the examples to use in your own essay. Okay. Personal experience. You can tell any story, real or not, about yourself or someone else you know, or make up that supports any one of your points. Right? This is not a personal essay. You can make up something. Honestly, one student wrote something one year and I was just like, wow, did you really do this? And he said, my mom said the same thing. No, it was about helping an elderly person at the grocery store or something like that. And I said, well, you were very convincing. Okay. The same thing goes for statistics. You might have a general idea of statistics, but not know the exact number. Do you think that matters for this? No. You know why? Because they're going to spend about 2 minutes reading and grading your essay. 2 people will read it, and they'll each spend about 2 minutes on it. They are not going to go look up your sources. Now, don't say something obviously wrong, like, you know, I have no idea what that notification is for, and I don't know how to turn it off because I don't know what it's for. Don't say something ridiculous like Abraham Lincoln wrote the Declaration of Independence. If you say something like that, they might be tempted to downgrade you. Okay? But if you want to, you can invent a research study or come up with any other kind of statistics that supports one of your perspectives. Okay? But don't use the old crutch studies show. Okay? If you're going to say something about a study, make up the name of the study and the group that did it.
Harvard studies show that reading ain't never helped nobody.
Right. And then specifics from sources. Use knowledge of events from history or current events to support your points. If you're not certain of the details, it's all right. The essay graders won't deduct points for factually inaccurate information, as long as it's not totally ridiculous. Like, exactly. So, and this makes it a little bit fun. Did you use any made up stuff? Okay. All right. So now the part that I want you to cross out is this part on page 75, because the thing I gave you that's new is on that page. So put a big old X from Roman numeral 2 all the way down to the bottom. Okay. On the whole page, Roman numeral 2. Yeah, that little paragraph at the top is okay, but starting with Roman numeral 2, cross out the rest of it's okay. Oh yeah, Roman numeral 2. So I mean, that's not much else on the page. Okay, and then on the next page, cross out because this is what your handout is for. Okay, cross out down to body paragraph B and cross out body paragraph B. Yeah, B, body paragraphs, cross that out. Okay, so we're left with conclusion, revising time, and remember the following. Okay. So now let's look at the handout that I gave you, because in the book, it says that you're going to have 3 body paragraphs. And for several years, I've been saying that this isn't going to work, guys. So let's just go with 2. But I never could remember when the time came to change it in the handbook, and I'm going to have to mark this or I'm going to miss it again. All right. So
You copy and paste this into there. It's going to be easier than ever.
that's right. Now we want to So instead of having the three body paragraphs, we're going to reduce them to 2, but they do want you to respond to all 3 perspectives, right? So what I want to do, and this is what I would recommend you all doing if you take this, is I want to deal with the 2 perspectives I don't agree with in the first body paragraph. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then give some examples about each and explain why you disagree with that. Of course, this is formal writing, so we can't say exactly.
We are.
Right. Then in the second body paragraph, you're going to discuss the given perspective that supports your position. Okay. And you should give an example. All of these are better if you give examples. Otherwise, they get very hazy. All right. So you want to give a good example of why. And then in the conclusion, suppose you just finished the second body paragraph and the time person goes, you have 1 minute. At that point, you stop writing the body paragraph and you go down and you write a 1-sentence conclusion. Even if it's just 1 sentence. You can, I don't recommend it, but if you're out of time, one is better than none, right? Now I'm not recommending a 1-sentence conclusion, but I am saying that if that's all you have, okay, then you can go with that. Okay? What you don't want to do is just leave it trailing off with no kind of closing. So if you were just going to do 1 sentence at the end, what do you think you would want to say? Exactly. You would want to repeat your main idea in different words, of course. Right? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you a keyword outline. Oh, let's see. What did I do with that? That I made. What did I do with my keyword outline? I'm going to scan this in. I have one that I did on the computer, but it's very scratchy. And I'll show it to you anyway, but it's really, I just want to make sure I can read my own handwriting here. Okay. So this is a keyword outline for the subject that we just finished doing. Okay. Now it's not really quite fair because I've had a long time to think of this. Right? And it takes me a long time to think of things. So let me just make it as big as I can and have it still show up. All right, notice that this is not, and here's a handwritten one that I did that I'm going to scan into the computer and post. But notice this is not a great, gigantic, fully fledged, oh.
Vision of president times.
Okay. How come I can't get it to stop? Oh, now it's going backwards. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll just do it 1 click at a time. See if I can get it to all get on the screen. Okay. Notice this is not a very extensive keyword outline. They don't even require you to turn in a keyword outline. So why would you turn in the keyword outline? Why would you make one if you don't have to turn it in?
It's easier
Easier to do what?
to figure out what's going on.
It is. Now, I have not been really strict with the rules here. I've generally kept to the rules, but when you're under time pressure, don't go, oh, Miss Kimbrell says I can only use 4 words. Remember, they're not asking for your outline, and hopefully you'll have paper. Did you have paper? No. Okay. Did you write an outline?
I read it in the book.
Okay.
Underneath the
Under the
The
prompt?
prompts there.
Okay, so you had a place that you could write it. Okay. But the paper they gave you was just for the essay. So don't use up any of your paper. And apparently they don't give you a huge bunch of paper to write on either. And so we'll talk about the strategy of making sure you don't run out of space also, okay? So wherever you got room, Linda says she did it in the booklet. That's great to know. So notice this is not a full-fledged keyword outline. You don't have to worry about that. But I will tell you that if you don't quickly think through these things and jot them down under time pressure, you may forget what it was you were going to say. Has that ever happened to you, Jack, in debate? You ever forgotten what you were going to say, like in the middle of a debate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of the outline. Sometimes you were arguments earlier.
Uh-huh.
A lot of stuff can happen.
Okay. So having something down on paper is better than nothing. Okay. And as a matter of fact, I quickly made this outline in class yesterday with the students. And by the time I got down to the second body paragraph, I couldn't even remember what it was that I had thought about saying, but I had an outline and I looked at it and I was able to write it. Okay. So in my intro, I want to make sure that I mentioned the key points, and that is STEM is now preferred by high schools and colleges. They claim it is best for workers, and ELA is being cut. Okay, I could write at the end of this, and I don't know why I didn't, a combination is best. That would have been a number 4. Okay. Body paragraph 1. And I'm going to deal with both perspectives 1 and perspectives 2 here. So perspective, oh, sorry, y'all. What did I do? Why did that get big like that? Okay. So my first is I'm going to talk about how both neither perspective 1 or perspective 2 are a good idea. And I just went ahead right away and started listing what my examples were. First, Dr. J.B. Webster, the pioneer of IEW, believed if you can't write, you can't think. Okay. Second, ELA is needed for a meaningful life. Where did I get that? I got it. I got it out of the prompt. Yeah. Okay. And then I love that phrase, necessary but not sufficient. Okay. So ELA is necessary, but it isn't sufficient. And the reason I say it isn't sufficient is that STEM also is necessary because of a tech-based society, even if that isn't your plan to go into something with STEM. Who is thinking of a STEM major? Christopher, what are you thinking of?
Maybe some kind of engineering.
Okay. Is anybody else thinking of a STEM? Who's thinking of something in the humanities? That would be, and what are you thinking of?
Major in musical theater, minor in something that's actually making money.
That is a very clever strategy. We had a friend that was back, he was a teenager back when my kids were teenagers, and he told his mother and father that he had decided to major in philosophy.
Oh.
And his mom was like, that's great. That'll make a great minor. Now, what are you going to do to put bacon on the table? So he ended up going for, I think, biology as pre-med, and then he actually did get into medical school, and now he's a doctor. He had a good time doing philosophy. Okay. So STEM is also necessary. Even those of us who want to do the humanities have to know how to operate a computer and use technology, because so much of our life is based on it at this point. Really, unless you're going to go live off the grid, you're going to have to.
Cabin in the woods.
You're going to have to be able to.
Electricity.
You're going to have to be pretty handy with technology, as a matter of fact, right? Okay. So my second body paragraph, ELA and STEM should say are necessary, is necessary, but that's okay. This is a keyword outline and I was writing fast. Okay. So first of all, my first thought is that some students are not inclined to one or the other. Is there anybody in here who is definitely not inclined to STEM? And yet I went to nursing school and got a bachelor's degree in nursing. So some people just aren't inclined. Is there anybody in here who is not inclined to language arts, humanities, history, any of the above? Okay, all right. Second, the job market can't absorb all the STEM students. And I actually have an article that I've been reading over again for years, and I even went back and updated the numbers because it was written in the 70s of all the different degrees that were being taken out. You can find all of this on the Department of Labor statistics. It's fascinating how many degrees are given in each of these areas each year and how many jobs are expected to become available in those fields. And it's way less than the number of people that are actually getting degrees in them. Okay. And the number one job was nursing. Just saying. If you get a nursing degree, you can pretty much get a job. And it doesn't necessarily have to be patient care, just in case any of y'all are wondering. There's a lot that BSN is the golden key that unlocks the door to a staggering number of opportunities. Okay. The job market can't absorb all the STEM students. And number three, should the colleges force students into jobs that aren't there?
Yes.
And then I just wrote down one thing for my conclusion: a combo is best. Okay. Very, very simple keyword outline. Don't have to belabor this. This is not, a 5-paragraph IEW keyword outline. Look how simple this is. Linda, would you have had enough room to write that much? Okay. And again, the reason why you do take the time is because you want to think a little bit before you write. And when you think of it, you need to go ahead and put it down, lest it be squashed out of your brain by the time pressure, which is a real thing. Okay. All right. So once you have your little keyword outline, then you're ready to write. And I will once my computer unfreezes. I don't know if I did. I don't think I did screen share. Okay. I didn't do screen share. Let me do a screen share right here so people can see what I'm talking about. I forgot that I didn't do screen share because we could see it. And it's still frozen. Da, 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 da. Okay. Well, you are screen sharing. Yes, I know. Okay, so this is the one we just looked at. Everything's just moving really slow. And I will have a copy of this up on the ThinkWave too, so you can look at it if you want to while you're at home. Now stop share. Okay, now I want to show you my essay that I wrote. Let's see. So we took this in the class, and I just quickly typed it up on the computer. Now, if you've got any kind of accommodations because of having whatever the different learning differences are that people have sometimes, if you have accommodations, it might be that you could actually do yours on the computer. Everybody else has to do theirs by hand. Okay, y'all didn't have computers, did you? Okay. I don't think they can ever do it that way because, oh, that's not it. We've already got that one open. I don't think they'll ever have it on computer because that would be too risky. They'd have to have too many computers. It's done all over the country on the same day. And they can't let people bring their own computers because that just opens the door for cheating. Where is this? Sample essay. Ah, there we go. Okay. So probably it'll always be by hand. So don't be confused about this. I wouldn't have had time to write this. We didn't have 40 minutes to do this, and you saw how scratchy the keyword outline was, and it would have been just the same way if I'd handwritten it because I'm writing it on that graphic tablet. Okay, so here's the essay that I wrote. My little keyword outline. Let's see if we can do a screen share at the same time. View side by side. I close that. Huh. Must have already closed it. Thought I had it. I guess oh, there it is. Let me open that up. Hold on. Okay, we're going to do side by side here. View side by side. Sample ACT-essay. Okay. So my intro is STEM is preferred by high schools and college. Claim the best for workers. ELA being cut.
You're sharing this?
Let me see. Nope. Thank you. I keep forgetting that just because I can see it doesn't mean everybody else can. Oh, I bet I can't show them both at the same time. Oh, I bet I can on screen. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Aiden. Or we would have been back in the same boat again. I'm going to move this over so that you can see the essay. All right. So here's my intro. At the present time, now you don't have to use all of this style and everything. I would aim for having at least one of everything somewhere in the essay. When I say one of everything, I don't mean decorations. Think about one or two decorations, okay? Whichever one is easiest for you. Other than that, make sure you try to have at least one of each sentence type besides number ones, okay? Because they actually do look at variety in writing and sentence structure and all of that. Good words. Try not to use banned words. Okay, that's a real thing. Okay, so here's my intro. At the present time, language arts in high school and colleges have been nearly dismissed as a waste of precious education time and dollars. The reason this has occurred is a preference for STEM education. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, I got that straight out of the prompt. Okay, don't use any of their sentences, though. Make your own. Since these are considered to be the future, many education experts claim that all time and money should go to preparing students for careers in these fields. Nevertheless, a combination of ELA and STEM education is critical for the future of the country. Okay, that's my thesis. So here's my keyword outline for first body paragraph. Dr. J.B. Webster, don't write, can't think. ELA needed meaningful life, necessary but not sufficient. STEM also necessary because of tech-based society. Okay. Proponents of both ELA and STEM tend to exaggerate the importance of their preferred focus. Make sure you get both of the perspectives in that topic sentence. Okay. What would happen if the majority of the population was no longer educated in language arts? There's my declaration. According to Dr. J.B. Webster, pioneer of excellence in the writing method, his history students who were not able to write well also displayed poor understanding and thinking skills. This is true. I didn't make this up, but I could have. Dr. Webster believes that students who cannot write also cannot think. He began teaching writing in his classes so his students could learn history. I really like that example. Obviously, ELA plays a key role in thinking ability. On the other hand, students who have no preparation in STEM subjects would be at a loss in our increasingly technological society, even in a non-STEM career. Even English teachers have to understand the basics of computers and the technology now employed in education. It will not do to eliminate either of these important facets of education. So that ties in with my next paragraph. ELA and STEM is necessary. Some students are not inclined. Job market cannot absorb all STEM degrees. Should we force students into jobs that don't exist? Okay. Examining the importance of both ELA and STEM, leaders will realize that both are necessary, but not sufficient for the success of the individual as well as society at large. First, some students have a natural inclination to one or the other area. It would not be wise to force a person who loves language and reading to give up a strength because they might need a job in an area of weakness. Second, the job market cannot absorb an army of STEM degree holders. According to a study published by the Chronicles of Higher Education, more degrees are awarded in each field every year than the number of jobs available in those fields. Now, there is info for that. I should have put maybe, but I didn't think of it at the time. I should have put, according to the Bureau of Labor and, what did I call it? I can't remember what that name of that. I could have made up the name, but I just made up a name. There actually is a journal called the Chronicles of Higher Education, but I seriously doubt they would publish this because that might deter people. According to a study published by the Chronicles of Higher Education, yeah, don't say studies show. Find some kind of a name, okay? More degrees are awarded in each field every year than the number of jobs available in those fields, and that is true. This often leaves graduates unable to find jobs in their field, forcing them to work at lower paying jobs while not being able to pay back college debt. Clearly, it is not wise to put all of one's education eggs in one basket. Schools, and here's my one sentence conclusion. Schools should attempt to give students the opportunities to experience both STEM and ELA courses while also encouraging them to think about a wise use of their time and money in choosing a career. Ta-da! Now,
Perfect score.
a 6. Okay. I don't know how long it's taken me to think through all of this. Okay. So it really isn't a fair example. And it will probably be hard when you do it, but that's okay. If you practice, you will get better. Okay. Now let's look at some strategies. Let me do stop share. Let's look at some strategies in our handbook for how to actually go about doing this. First of all, I want everybody to know that your grade for the year is not going to be destroyed by this assignment. Okay. That would not be fair because this is weird writing that we're doing like for one time. And I'm not that kind of a teacher. Okay. If, however, I see that you didn't seem to try, then it will affect your grade. So I want everybody to try and do your best. Okay. Yes. Because again, you just have to practice these things if you want to improve. Okay. Let's look at the strategies on page 76 on E. One thing I want to, if you have time to go back and revise, do that. But that's not nearly as important as writing a one-sentence conclusion if you're out of time. Okay. All right. They will give you 40 minutes. And I want you to set a timer for 40 minutes. But if you don't finish in 40 minutes, I want you to keep going and finish. Okay? Because by finishing it, you'll have a better grasp of the whole process. So set it for 40 minutes and don't unnecessarily drag it out. Try to finish in 40 minutes. But if you don't, just keep going and finish it. Okay, does everybody understand that? I'd rather you have the experience of finishing one of these essays than have it half done, right? And it is pretty shocking. I actually took Andrew Pudo's SAT essay workshop back in the bad old days when they gave you 25 minutes. And before he started, he passed out papers and told us to keep it turned over. And he didn't tell us anything. He didn't give us any instructions or anything. He just said, you're going to write your SAT essay. Okay, turn your papers over and start now. And I turned the paper over and I looked at it and I was just kind of like, I had no idea what to write. And in 25 minutes, he called time and only got a couple of paragraphs written. I was just sitting there, just frozen. I didn't know how to think about what we were supposed to do. And he said, the reason I did this is just to show you that this is hard, and I want you to have compassion on your students. I want you to experience it. And that was a terrible assignment, but he gave us a lot of these same strategies. Okay. Now, who in here prefers to print as opposed to doing cursive? Okay. Is that everybody? Okay. Hold on a second. Sorry. Oh, goodness, that pollen. Who in here can write cursive fairly easily? Fairly easily? Okay. Writing cursive is actually faster than printing unless you don't normally write cursive. And so writing cursive is a good strategy for moving a little more quickly if that is comfortable for you. But if it's not, then just print. Okay. That's not the time to be practicing your cursive. I will say that people get higher scores usually on these things when they do use cursive, but that's still not a reason to use that time to practice your cursive. And I don't know why, because there's nowhere does it say that people should use, but I think maybe it just has to do with the reviewer's preference. Okay. But
Makes you look
again,
more smart.
I guess so. But again, use whichever one that you are the fastest and your writing looks the best, because the person actually does have to be able to read what you wrote. Okay. And I need to be able to read what you wrote. Now, I'm not looking for penmanship. I just need to be able to read it. It doesn't have to be great. I just need to be able to read it. Okay. Linda, were the lines kind of wider than just normal notebook paper? Okay. So you don't want to skip lines in this thing. Now you can when you write it for me if you want to, but on the real thing, they don't give you enough paper to skip lines. So you want a single space. Okay. Now let's look at some more. Okay. On E, on 76, you must keep a formal tone following the conventions of written English. Do not use I, or we, or me, or my, or our, and especially not you. Okay. Introduction and conclusion should state and restate your main point, especially if you only have a one-sentence conclusion. Okay. Follow your outline when writing. Don't forget to look at your outline. It was really amazing yesterday how I had already forgotten the thing that I thought of. If I hadn't had it written down in an outline, I wouldn't have been able to recover, I don't think. Don't forget your style. They will be looking for precise language and varied sentences, but again, you don't have to aim for having every single thing. I did get in one number 4, and I think I got in a prepositional phrase, and I might have gotten in an ly. I think I got in a number 5. What else is there?
Short sentence.
I don't think I got in any of those. I really don't. Yeah, I don't tend to write those accidentally. Let's see. Yeah, I don't believe I have one of those. That would have been good. Aim for getting one of each at least, okay? But if you don't, I mean, don't sweat it. Okay. Don't skip the conclusion, even if it's just one sentence. Aim for 600 to 750 words, about 150 to 200 words per paragraph. Less is too short, and more will make it hard to finish. Now, in the real ACT essay, you have to use a pencil. But, and it would be okay for y'all to use a pencil in this class. I say to use a pen. The level 2 online people have to use a pen because they have to scan their work and turn it in, and I can't read it when they scan it in pencil. Okay. But if y'all would rather use a pencil, you can, because you'll be turning yours in a folder, or you can use a pen. But in the real ACT essay, if you write it in a pen, you get a 0.
Oh, I still have my second one.
And surely the person standing up there proctoring the exam would say,
Hey, you,
Be sure you use a pencil.
And that's just the
Oh, really? Why is that? They think people might put information in the,
I don't know, it's just never too pencils.
okay, all right. So I guess you wouldn't be there with a pen after all. Okay. Yeah, so you don't want any, also if you write an essay other than the essay that they've asked you to write, you get a 0. And if they can't read it, then you get a 0. But if your handwriting is such that it's illegible, probably you've got some accommodations and you will probably be doing yours on a computer or something, okay? So you should practice writing by hand. Don't ever let your handwriting completely go to pot, because if you do, not just in the ACT essay, but in other situations in school, you'll be at a disadvantage, okay? Keep your hand working. My handwriting is just terrible. And I used to have award-winning handwriting. So don't let that happen to you. All right, now let us look at the instructions in the handbook to make sure I haven't skipped anything that I need to tell you. And that is on page 267. Okay. So again, now the tendency when you have an assignment that's this short is to wait. Don't wait. Go ahead and get them done. And then you'll be free of writing for the rest of the time, okay? On 3 separate days, you need to read through the stuff that I gave you, including the handout. On 3 separate days, write a timed essay using the prompts on pages 230 to 232. There's 3 different ones there, and they're all set up exactly the same way. Before writing each essay, read all the instructions on pages 73 to 86 that we just went over, and set a timer for 40 minutes. All essays must be handwritten in pen, although y'all can actually write yours in pencil, like I said, because I don't have to scan yours. You don't have to scan yours. If you do have to scan it, is there anybody that knows? Are you missing class next time? No.
I'm gonna bring my phone, please.
Okay. Yeah, but you won't be at the next class.
Mhm.
Okay. If you know you're going to have to turn your work in online because you already know you're going to be out of town or something, or next time, just make sure it's in pen, because it just isn't going to scan well if you have to scan it and post it. Okay. Be sure they're legible. That means that you people can read it. Okay. And also for me, if you have accommodations where you are allowed to have extra time for tests, or if you're allowed to use a computer instead of handwriting, that usually goes along with a diagnosis of dysgraphia or dyslexia. My daughter-in-law has dyslexia, and when she was in college, she actually would go and take her test in the professor's office, and she was given extra time. And she still ended up getting her degree, okay? So if you have an accommodation like that, then get your editor to let me know. You know, if normally you get twice as long for a test, you can have twice as long for this test. If normally you're allowed to use a computer instead of handwrite, then you can do that for this, okay? Don't write more than 1 essay per day, because it won't be very good if you do, okay? Local students, just staple the essays together with your checklist on the top and place it in the pocket of folder 1, and online students, that doesn't involve you. Okay. I tell the online students to print a structure and style survey for the next class, but you all don't have to do that, because I'll just give you yours in class. That's for the next class we're having. So you're missing class 13? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. It's a fun one, but the assignment's fun, so you'll be okay. Okay. Now, let's look at the checklist on the back. This is a very different checklist than what you're used to seeing. Yeah. So at the top of the page, at the top of this little chart across the top, you'll see there are 4 different things that they actually rate you on the ACT. And the first one is your ideas and your analysis. Argument responds to perspectives. You have a clear thesis, and your analysis is thorough. I'm sorry, there's only so much analysis you can do in 40 minutes. Okay? Development of ideas, supportive claims, reasoning, and illustration. That's one reason to make sure you have at least one illustration for each perspective. Okay? Organization. All of y'all are good at this. There's no reason you should not get a 6 on this one. The others are harder. The first 2 are harder, but this is not for y'all. Y'all know how to organize your writing. Don't forget your topic clinchers. And don't forget your thesis statement at the end of that paragraph. And don't forget the thesis statement in the conclusion. And then your language use, word choice, correctness and variety of sentence structure, style, voice, tone. Formal tone is what we're going for here. Just like all of the academic papers you've written. And your grammar usage and mechanics, like, punctuation, capitalization, spelling. Yeah, they actually count off for this stuff on the ACT essay. Okay. Now, on each of those 4, they can rate you anywhere from 0 to 6. The only thing that gets a 0 if it's blank, if it's written off topic, if they can't read it at all. I don't mean that it's hard to read. I mean, they can't read it at all. If it's not written in English, or void, which is the same thing as blank. So I don't know why they had to put that in there twice. And then they rate you.
Spanish.
Huh?
Right, mine in Spanish.
Oh. And so then they rate you on 1 to 6 for each of those. So you see on essay 1 score, you've got like a little blank. That's like your average score on each of these 4 areas. And this is very, very subjective. They're spending 2 minutes to read your essay. If they look at your paper and they see 4 distinct paragraphs, make sure you indent your paragraphs, okay? Because you don't want to be skipping lines and you want them to be able to see where your paragraphs start, right? If they look at your paper and it's pretty full and it's got 4 paragraphs and they can read it and they whiz through and read it fast, you're probably going to get a good grade, a decent grade, okay? If they don't see paragraphs and they read it and it doesn't have a logical flow to it, then you're not going to get a good grade, okay? But again, learning to do this is an acquired skill. There's hardly anybody that just might already be able to do this the very first time, and that might be people that do debate, okay? So this is the assignment. I really don't like having to do this, but y'all shouldn't mind it too much because you only have to do 3 days of homework. And you don't have to do all of the style. And don't mark your style. Okay? That would be weird. But do try to get at least one of the sentence types in. Now we can look at for a few minutes. We won't look for long, but I just want to show you these examples in here, which are so unrealistic. Okay. If you look on page 77, here's a prompt. Now, I really do like this prompt. And I'm not saying the essays aren't good. I'm just saying I just don't think you can expect that much from people. Many of the goods and services we depend on daily are now supplied by intelligent, automated machines rather than human beings. Robots build cars and other goods on assembly lines where once there were human workers. Many of our phone conversations are now conducted not with people, but with sophisticated technologies. We can now buy goods at a variety of stores without the help of a human cashier. Automation is generally seen as a sign of progress, but what is lost when we replace humans with machines? Given the accelerating variety and prevalence of intelligent machines, it is worth examining the implication and meaning of their presence in our lives. Okay, I just have to have an aside here. Ever since the wheel was invented, people have been having the same question. Does this demean people to have an easier way to do things? And does it destroy jobs? Okay. When the stocking knitting machine came into being in England, Before that, stockings had to be hand knitted, and there was a stocking knitters guild of some sort because they wore wool stockings because it was really cold there. There was a general outrage by the stocking knitters. But someone invented this machine, and soon they were turning out way more stockings than they'd ever been able to turn out to before. So, of course, the price dropped, but it was very resented by people that made their living. So, I mean, this is an old question. Okay. All right. That has nothing to do with this, except I might use it as an example if I was going to write this. Okay. Read carefully, consider these perspectives. Each suggests a particular way of thinking about the increasing presence of intelligent machines. Perspective 1, what we lose with replacement of people by machines is some part of our own humanity. Even our mundane daily encounters no longer require from us basic courtesy, respect, and tolerance for other people. Well, that's true. Perspective 2, machines are good at low-skill, repetitive jobs and at high-speed, extremely precise jobs. In both cases, they work better than humans. This efficiency leads to a more prosperous and progressive world for everyone. Well, that's true too. Perspective 3, intelligent machines challenge our long-standing ideas about what humans are or can be. This is good because it pushes humans and machines toward new, unimagined possibilities. I don't know what to think about that. Okay, to me, it's just like perspective 1 has some true parts and perspective 2 has some true parts. Okay, I don't know what I would say. Okay, now let's look at some of the examples. And here's the first one that I thought, wow, I don't think a student wrote this. This one got an essay score of 6. They got a 6 on their ideas and analysis. They got a 6 on their development and support. They got a 6 on their organization, and they got a 6 on their language use. Advances in technology have become so widely accepted in today's culture that very few people are willing to pause to consider the consequences. People get so excited about what new technologies can offer that they forget to question whether there might be any negative effects. Without caution and deliberation, replacing the natural with the mechanical would undoubtedly be disastrous. The implications of the potential mechanical takeover alone should be enough to dissuade anyone from moving too fast. In the event the robots are more widely used in the workplace, humans will surely be replaced. At first, businesses would benefit from the efficiency of robots, but eventually a depressed job market would lead to a population that struggles just to feed themselves and their families, let alone purchase the products these robots make. In the long run, society will suffer if it does not take care to prevent the economic consequences of giving everything over to machines. Our careless use of automation has already taken a toll on our culture. People have been interacting with automation in nearly every aspect of their lives, whether it be shopping, banking, or the use of the telephone. The effect of this is obvious. Basic respect for our fellow man is all but absent today because of increased interaction with automation. Why treat a machine with kindness? It suffers no emotional or psychological damage. In a culture saturated with automation, we get used to treating machines rudely and we begin to treat each other rudely. This, of course, leads to all sorts of issues like intolerance and incivility, and in the long run results in the complete degradation of culture. Even in the face of these obstacles, some people argue that the increasing intelligence of today's machines is a good thing. After all, machine power can decrease the human workload. Computer processors double in power and ability every year. Computers are projected to reach human intelligence by as soon as 2025. The implications of this shift are unknown, but one thing is for certain. We are moving into this change too fast to anticipate and prevent damage to the human species. We are approaching this change too quickly for any sort of safety net to be built. Because of this, it is important that we as a species slow down our technological development so that we might consider all the implication of a change this big. We must figure out how to handle negative societal and cultural consequences before we embrace total integration of automated intelligent machines. Decreasing the speed with which we incorporate mechanical influence is important because of the potential dangers that lurk in blind acceptance. Not only does the preference of the mechanical over the natural interfere with the job market and the economy, but its use also has the potential to seriously degrade our culture as a whole. In combination with the uncertainty surrounding the increasing intelligence of machines, it is most assuredly better for the human species that technological progress be slowed so that we can, if necessary, prevent additional damage. That wasn't the essay I was thinking of. That does sound like it was written by a student. I think a student could write that. Again, I would pick one thing to focus on, and I would combine the other two. Who thinks perspective 1 is correct in this? Anybody? Okay. They kind of left out the perspective of the job market to me, but okay. Who thinks perspective 2 is the best one? Who thinks perspective 3 is the best one? Okay. All right. So this one we all have different opinions on. The other one was pretty cut and dried. So there's no telling what it's going to be like, but now I want to show you one that got a 1. Yeah. So they've got one that got a 5, and they have an explanation for these scores. They got it, and you can read them later. They got a 3, they got a 2, and then they have a 1. This is sad. None of you all would be doing anything like this, so that's a comfort to me. Well, machines are good, but they take people's jobs. Like if they don't know how to use it, they get fired and they'll find someone else, and it's more easier with machines. But sometimes they don't need people because of this. Machines do their own job, and there'll be many people that lack on their job. But the intelligent machines sometimes may not work, or they'll break easy, and it's a waste of money on these machines, and they're really expensive to buy, but they help a lot. At the same time, it help a lot, but at the same time, this intelligent machines work and some don't work, but many stores buy them and end up broken or not working, but many stores get them and end up wasting money on this intelligent machines. But how does it help us in the community? Because some people get fired because they do not need him because of this machines. Many people are losing jobs because of this machines. I would have given that a 0, but okay.
I mean, they wrote something. I mean, they showed up to the data.
It wasn't blank.
They showed up.
Yes. So if you look at number 2, what they really are looking for here is that you quickly thought through the implications. And honestly, this one was kind of a hard one. It wasn't nearly as easy as that STEM versus ELA one, in my opinion. Okay. And you don't know what you might get. You might get aliens. So, the best thing to do is just to practice and just kind of treat it as a challenge, as something fun. Okay, I have weighted this very lightly, and the only reason you're going to lose a lot of points is if you just don't, I can see you didn't try.
Like this.
Like that. Okay, I expect to see 4 paragraphs, even if the last paragraph is just 1 sentence.
And like basic punctuation, like periods and
Yeah. Exactly. And I want to see an illustration for each of the perspectives. Okay. Even if you have to make it up.
I'll get dry.
All right. Oh. All right. But I don't want anybody, just treat it as something fun. Okay. That you're going to get better at doing. Okay. And I would start tomorrow, do the first one tomorrow, do the second one Monday, do the third one Tuesday. Boom. You're done. Wouldn't that be nice?